Maya sat in the dim glow of the break room, gripping her phone with trembling hands. She reread the email for the third time, her mind refusing to process the words "effective immediately, your employment has been terminated." The screen blurred as tears welled up in her eyes. A decade of hard work, dedication, and countless sleepless nights gone in an instant. Just like that, everything she had built crumbled beneath her. She had always been one of the best video editors at Luxtech Studios, a name spoken with admiration in post-production circles. She had worked on high-profile projects, films that had shaped pop culture. But none of that mattered now. She had made a single mistake. A fleeting, innocent decision that had cost her everything, her crime? Posting a short, behind-the-scenes clip of Keanu Reeves being, well, himself. It wasn't a leak. It wasn't controversial. It was just Keanu helping a crew member lift a heavy box, chuckling as he joked, "Guess I should have trained for this scene." The internet adored it. Within hours, the clip had millions of views. Fans flooded the comments with admiration for Keanu's kindness and humility, but Luxtech Studios didn't see it that way. They called it a breach of confidentiality. No warnings, no discussions, just a termination email, cold and final. Outside the break room, hushed voices whispered. Her colleagues knew. Some pitied her, others exchanged amused glances, but no one dared to speak up. The film industry was ruthless. If Luxtech could fire someone as dedicated as Maya, anyone could be next. Wiping away her tears, she grabbed her bag and took a deep breath. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. With her head held high, she walked out of the building, every step echoing with a painful finality. But the moment she stepped onto the pavement, her heart nearly stopped. Keanu Reeves was standing there, leaning casually against his sleek black motorcycle. He adjusted his helmet, his expression unreadable. But his dark eyes locked onto hers with quiet intensity. Maya froze. Did he know? Had he heard about what happened? Shame flooded her, and she considered turning away. But before she could move, Keanu straightened and took a step toward her. "I heard what happened," he said, his voice calm yet firm. Maya's throat tightened. She wanted to say something, deny it, brush it off, but no words came. Keanu sighed, shaking his head. "They fired you over that video? That's ridiculous." She swallowed hard. "It was my fault," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I posted it without permission." Keanu's expression hardened. "It was a 2-second clip. And all it did was show me lifting a box. You didn't leak a script. You didn't expose anything personal. You just showed a moment of kindness. And they fired you for that?" Maya clenched her jaw. "Company policy. No exceptions." Keanu scoffed. "That's not policy. That's corporate garbage." A beat of silence passed between them. Maya felt small under his gaze, not because he made her feel that way, but because for the first time, someone was standing up for her. Then Keanu did something unexpected. He reached into his jacket, pulled out his phone, and started typing. Maya frowned. "What are you doing?" Keanu finished typing and looked up. "Fixing this." Before she could ask what he meant, he gestured toward his motorcycle. "Get on." Maya blinked. "What?" He smiled slightly. "Come on. We're going to make things right." Her heart pounded. This was insane. 1 minute she was jobless, humiliated. The next, Keanu Reeves was telling her to get on his motorcycle. She glanced back at Luxtech's towering office building, at the place that had discarded her like she was nothing. There was nothing left for her there. Taking a deep breath, she swung her leg over the bike. Keanu handed her a helmet, his eyes twinkling with something between reassurance and excitement. "Hold on," he said over the roar of the engine. As the city lights blurred past them, the cold night air stinging her cheeks, Maya had no idea where they were going, but for the first time in a long time, she felt something close to hope. The motorcycle hummed beneath Maya as the city blurred past them in streaks of neon and headlights. Her fingers clutched the edges of Keanu's leather jacket, her mind racing faster than the bike beneath her. She should have asked more questions. Where were they going? What was he planning? But somehow, she trusted him. After what felt like 20 minutes weaving through traffic, Keanu pulled up in front of a sleek, modern building with tinted windows and a bold silver sign, Ether Productions. Maya's stomach twisted. She recognized the name. Ether was one of Luxtech's biggest competitors. Keanu parked and turned to her.
Come on. Maya hesitated. What are we doing here? He smirked. Getting you a better job. Her breath caught in her throat.
You can't just trust me, Keanu said, his voice calm but firm. Maya swallowed her doubts and followed him inside. The lobby was massive, floor-to-ceiling glass windows, polished marble floors, walls lined with awards and framed posters of major blockbuster films. People turned as Keanu walked in. Some whispered, some stared, but no one stopped him. He walked with quiet confidence, like he belonged anywhere he went. Before Maya could take it all in, he led her straight to an elevator and hit the button for the top floor. She exhaled sharply.
You really think this will work? Keanu glanced at her.
You're one of the best editors in the industry, and Luxtech was too blind to see it.
Their loss.
The elevator doors slid open, revealing a glass-walled office with a panoramic view of the city. Inside stood a man in a sharp charcoal suit, his salt and pepper hair neatly combed back. His piercing blue eyes widened slightly at the sight of Keanu. Nathan Carter. Keanu greeted him smoothly.
Still looking for an editor? Nathan Carter, CEO of Ether Productions, raised an eyebrow.
Always.
His gaze flicked to Maya. Who's this?
Keanu stepped aside, gesturing toward her.
The best damn editor Luxtech ever had.
Maya's heart pounded. Nathan studied her for a long moment, then leaned against his desk, arms crossed.
Why did they fire you? Maya swallowed hard. I posted a behind-the-scenes clip of Keanu on set. It went viral.
They called it a breach of confidentiality.
Nathan scoffed. That's it? Keanu folded his arms. That's it. Nathan exhaled sharply. Luxtech and their obsession with control. They'd rather fire good talent than admit they overreacted.
He considered her for another moment.
You worked there for 10 years? Maya nodded.
Editing, color grading, post-production supervision. I handled some of their biggest projects. Nathan leaned back, tapping his fingers on the desk.
And you're good? Keanu answered before she could. She's not just good. She's why some of Luxtech's biggest hits looked as polished as they did. Nathan smirked.
You don't usually vouch for people, Keanu.
Keanu shrugged. I don't usually need to.
Nathan studied Maya, then motioned to a chair.
Sit down. Let's see what you can do. Maya hesitated, her nerves twisting into knots. Right now?
Nathan nodded toward a large screen behind him.
We have a project we're struggling with. My team's been stuck on a sequence for days.
He gestured toward the console. If you can fix what they couldn't, you're hired.
Maya's stomach flipped. This was it.
A real chance. She stepped forward and took a seat at the console. The moment her fingers touched the keyboard, instinct took over. The scene on the screen was a high-budget action sequence, fast, intense, but something was off. The pacing was messy, transitions were abrupt, and the emotional weight wasn't landing. She cracked her knuckles. Let's fix this. She trimmed unnecessary cuts, smoothed transitions, and restructured the sequence, making sure every shot flowed seamlessly. She adjusted the color grading, deepening the shadows, sharpening the highlights, but the biggest issue? The sound mix. The original edit drowned the scene in generic background noise, killing the tension. Maya pulled forward the subtler sounds, the scrape of boots against pavement, the quiet hitch of breath before an explosion, the distant echo of a gun cocking. Every detail mattered. She worked fast, barely noticing Nathan watching her with narrowed eyes, his fingers still tapping against the desk. Keanu smirked behind her, arms folded like he already knew how this would end. Exactly 5 minutes later, Maya hit play of the same footage played again, but this time, it felt alive. The action had weight. The tension was real. The emotional core of the scene hit exactly where it needed to. When the clip ended, the room was silent. Nathan glanced at his team. They exchanged looks of quiet awe. Then, he turned back to Maya. How the hell did you do that so fast? Maya exhaled, trying to steady her nerves. I just saw what was missing. Nathan didn't say anything right away. He stared at the screen, then let out a low chuckle. Well, he muttered, Luxtech just lost a damn genius. Keanu grinned. Told you. Nathan stood and extended his hand. Maya, welcome to Ether Productions.
Maya hesitated, her pulse thudding in her ears. This couldn't be real.
But it was. She reached out and shook his hand, and for the first time in days, she felt something she thought she'd lost, hope. Nathan smirked.
Now let's talk salary. Maya let out a breathless laugh, still in disbelief.
She glanced at Keanu, who gave her a knowing nod. He hadn't just saved her career. He'd given her a second chance. Maya sat across from Nathan as he pulled up a digital contract on his massive monitor. The sleek interface reflected the sharp numbers in bold font, and when she saw them, her breath caught in her throat. It was more than she had ever earned at Luxtech. Nathan leaned back in his chair.
This is our starting offer.
If you prove yourself, we can revisit it later.
Maya barely hesitated. I'll take it. Nathan raised an eyebrow. No negotiation?
She shook her head.
I just lost my job a few hours ago.
Right now, I need stability more than leverage.
Nathan smirked. Fair enough.
He pushed the contract toward her.
Sign, and you start Monday.
Her hands were still trembling as she grabbed the pen, but just before she could sign, Keanu's voice cut through the moment.
Hold on. Maya froze, looking up, and Nathan frowned. Problem? Keanu's expression remained unreadable, but his tone was firm.
She's not taking a starting offer.
Maya blinked.
Keanu, he turned to her, his voice gentle but unwavering.
You're about to sign because you're scared. Because you think this is the only chance you'll get.
He nodded toward the screen.
But you just proved you're better than their entire editing team in 5 minutes. You're not a starting level hire. You're a damn asset. Nathan exhaled sharply, drumming his fingers on the desk. You're really gonna make me renegotiate with someone who hasn't even worked a day here? Keanu didn't flinch. I am. A tense silence stretched between them.
Maya felt like she was watching a high-stakes poker game, except she was the pot. Then, to her shock, Nathan chuckled.
You really believe in her, huh? Keanu shrugged. I believe in fairness.
Nathan sighed, then made a few quick adjustments to the contract. He turned the monitor toward Maya. The new number made her breath hitched. It was nearly double what Luxtech had been paying her. Nathan leaned back.
Now that's what I pay for an asset.
Maya stared at the screen, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. She turned to Keanu, but he just gave her a small, knowing nod. Slowly, she picked up the pen and signed. As she lifted her hand, something inside her shifted. She wasn't just getting a new job, she was reclaiming her worth. Nathan stood, offering his hand again.
Welcome to the team.
Maya shook it, feeling an odd mixture of disbelief and excitement. Nathan smirked.
Now get out of my office before Keanu talks me into giving you my job. Keanu grinned. Tempting. Maya laughed, a real, unguarded laugh.
She couldn't believe this was happening. As they walked out of the office, reality hit her like a freight train. This morning, she had been fired, humiliated, left with nothing. Now, she had a better job, a fresh start, and most shockingly, Keanu Reeves had just fought for her. They stepped into the elevator, the doors closing with a soft hum. Maya turned to Keanu.
I don't even know how to thank you. He smiled, pressing the button for the lobby. You don't have to.
As the elevator descended, she studied him. He stood relaxed, hands in his pockets, as if this was just another ordinary day for him, but for her, this was life-changing. She cleared her throat. Seriously, though, why did you do all this for me? Keanu turned his head slightly, a small smile tugging at his lips.
Because someone had to. Maya let his words sink in. He didn't owe her anything.
He could have ignored what happened, walked away like everyone else, but he didn't. The elevator doors slid open to the lobby, where the soft hum of conversations and the occasional ring of a phone filled the air. Keanu turned to her.
Now you have something Luxtech never gave you. Maya frowned. What's that? His eyes twinkled with quiet amusement. Freedom.
She exhaled, realizing he was right. Luxtech had made her feel replaceable, but now, she had power over her future. As they stepped outside, the cool evening air wrapped around them.
Keanu pulled out his keys, unlocking his motorcycle. So, he said, what now? Maya smirked. That's up to me, isn't it? Keanu chuckled. Exactly. He handed her a helmet. "But if you ever need a ride, you know where to find me."
Maya shook her head, smiling as she took the helmet. She had lost everything today, and somehow, she had ended up with more than she ever imagined. Keanu revved the engine. Maya climbed onto the bike, holding on tighter this time, not out of fear, but excitement, because for the first time in years, her future finally felt like her own. As the motorcycle weaved through the city streets, Maya let the night air wash over her. The neon lights reflected off the wet pavement, creating a surreal glow around them. She had spent years stuck in the grind, barely looking up from her computer screen. Now, with her arms wrapped around Keanu Reeves, speeding toward an unknown future, she felt something she hadn't in years. Alive. Keanu eventually pulled up in front of a quiet diner on the outskirts of the city. It was small, the kind of place that had probably been around for decades, with its flickering neon 24/7 diner sign and worn-out leather booths. Maya raised an eyebrow as she pulled off her helmet.
"A diner? This was your big plan after securing my future?" Keanu smirked.
"You just got the best deal of your career.
Time to celebrate."
Her stomach grumbled in agreement. She hadn't realized how hungry she was until now. They stepped inside, the soft jingle of the entrance bell breaking the comfortable silence between them. The place smelled of coffee, fresh pancakes, and warm nostalgia. A tired-looking waitress gave them a nod, barely blinking at the sight of a Hollywood superstar in her diner. Keanu slid into a booth, and Maya sat across from him. The vinyl seat let out a quiet squeak beneath her. She exhaled, finally allowing herself to relax. A moment later, the waitress returned, pen poised over her notepad.
"What can I get you folks?" Keanu barely glanced at the menu. "2 coffees, black." And he looked at Maya. "Do you trust me?" Maya scoffed. "At this point? I just let you hijack my career and throw me on the back of your motorcycle. What's a little food gamble?" Keanu grinned. 2 stacks of blueberry pancakes, extra syrup."
The waitress scribbled the order and walked off. Maya leaned back against the seat.
"So, is this part of your whole rescuing people from corporate injustice plan? Fix their careers, then feed them pancakes?" Keanu chuckled, shaking his head. "Nah.
You're the first."
Maya blinked. "Wait, really?" Keanu nodded, his fingers absent-mindedly drumming against the table. "I've helped people before, sure. But something about your situation, it didn't sit right with me." Maya looked down at her hands. "Because of the video?" Keanu exhaled. "Because of you.
You worked a decade for them, gave them everything, and they tossed you aside without a second thought.
That's not just corporate greed, that's a lack of basic human decency." Maya swallowed the lump forming in her throat.
It wasn't just the job she had lost, it was the belief that her work had mattered. That she had mattered. She forced a chuckle. "Well, lucky for me, I had a movie star guardian angel."
Keanu rolled his eyes. "I'm not an angel." Maya smirked. "Tell that to my bank account." The waitress returned, setting down 2 steaming mugs of coffee.
Keanu picked his up, taking a slow sip before glancing at her over the rim. "So, what's next for you?"
Maya shrugged.
"I guess I show up at Ether on Monday and prove I deserve the ridiculous salary you bullied Nathan into giving me."
Keanu chuckled. He had it coming. A comfortable silence settled between them.
Maya wrapped her hands around her mug, staring into the dark liquid. "It still doesn't feel real," she admitted.
"This morning, I thought my life was over."
And now, she shook her head.
"It's like I got a reboot." Keanu smiled. "Sometimes, losing everything is the best thing that can happen." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Speaking from experience?" Keanu tilted his head slightly, considering his words.
"I've had my fair share of setbacks.
Times when I thought I was done. But you know what I learned?" Maya leaned in slightly. "What?" Keanu set his cup down, meeting her gaze. "You're never really starting over. You're just starting from experience."
Maya let his words sink in. She had spent 10 years at Luxtech, grinding away, believing she was building something stable.
But in reality?
She had just been comfortable. Now, for the first time in years, she wasn't just existing, she was choosing. The pancakes arrived, stacked high, glistening with syrup.
Keanu picked up his fork and grinned. All right, moment of truth. Best pancakes in the city. Maya took a bite, her eyes widening.
Holy, okay, I take back all sarcasm.
You do know how to celebrate. Keanu smirked, satisfied. Told you.
As they ate, Maya realized something. This wasn't just about the job, or the pancakes, or even Keanu Reeves sitting across from her like they had been friends for years. This was about freedom. For the first time in her career, she wasn't bound by someone else's rules. She had choices, she had value, and she had the most unexpected friend to thank for it. Maya lifted her coffee mug toward him in a toast. To new beginnings.
Keanu tapped his mug against hers. To knowing your worth.
They drank, and for the first time in a long, long time, Maya felt whole. The last bite of syrup-drenched pancakes melted in Maya's mouth, and she set her fork down with a satisfied sigh. Across the table, Keanu leaned back, sipping his coffee, the corners of his lips curved in quiet amusement. This, Maya declared, wiping her hands on a napkin, was the best accidental life detour ever.
Keanu chuckled. Accidental detours tend to lead to the best places. She smirked. Is that a motorcycle philosophy? He raised an eyebrow. It's a life philosophy. Maya exhaled, letting the warmth of the diner and the surreal nature of the day settle in. If someone had told her this morning that she'd be here, employed, free, eating pancakes with Keanu Reeves, she would have laughed in their face, and now, she wasn't laughing, she was living. Her phone buzzed on the table. A text from her best friend, Clara, holy SHT, Maya. You're trending on Twitter. What is happening? Maya frowned. That's not ominous at all.
She opened the app, and her stomach dropped. #Maya deserved better. #Keanu saves the day. #LuxTech exposed. Her name was plastered across social media. There were thousands, tens of thousands, of tweets about her firing, about LuxTech's unfair policies, about Keanu taking her to Ether Productions. Her heart pounded as she scrolled. People were furious on her behalf.
Editors, filmmakers, industry professionals, even celebrities were calling out LuxTech, demanding better treatment for creatives.
Some were even sharing their own horror stories of being discarded by corporations that treated employees as disposable, and at the center of it all, her video of Keanu helping the crew member, the one that got her fired in the first place, had exploded again. Now, it wasn't just about Keanu's kindness, it was about her voice. A symbol of what was wrong with the industry. Maya swallowed hard.
Okay. This is a lot.
Keanu leaned forward, glancing at her screen.
Ha! He took another sip of coffee. Told you it was ridiculous.
Maya rubbed her temples.
I didn't expect the internet to declare war on my behalf. Keanu smirked. People like standing up for what's right.
Sometimes they just need someone to rally behind. Maya let that sink in. For years, she had been invisible, just another editor working in the background, making things perfect while remaining unnoticed. Now, suddenly, people saw her. Her phone buzzed again, this time, an email from LuxTech Studios. She hesitated before opening it, her stomach twisting into knots. Subject, termination of employment. Maya, due to recent public response, we would like to discuss the possibility of reinstating your employment at LuxTech Studios. Please let us know a time that works for you. Sincerely, Daniel Owens, Director of Talent Relations, LuxTech. Maya stared at the email for a long moment, then she burst out laughing. Keanu raised an eyebrow. Good news? Oh, the best, Maya said, grinning as she slid the phone across the table so he could read. Keanu glanced at it, then smirked.
Ah. Damage control. Maya nodded, leaning back in her seat.
They really thought they could throw me out and pretend I never existed. Now that it's blowing up in their face, suddenly they want to discuss my employment.
She let out a scoff. Unbelievable. Keanu studied her carefully. You thinking about going back? Maya snorted. Not a chance. Keanu grinned. Good.
She took her phone back and, without hesitation, typed a response. Subject, termination of employment. Daniel, thank you for reaching out. Unfortunately, I've already accepted a much better offer with a company that actually values my work, but don't worry, I'll be sure to credit LuxTech for pushing me toward it. Winking face. Best, Maya. She hit send and set the phone down. Feeling a satisfaction she hadn't expected, for once, she was making the choice. Keanu lifted his coffee in a toast.
To freedom. Maya clinked her mug against his. To knowing your worth.
As she took a sip, she couldn't help but smile. She had lost her career over Keanu Reeves, and somehow, that had been the best thing to ever happen to her.